first guest tonight is an Emmy-nominated actor whose career spans over 60 years, starring in films like Escape from New York, The Thing, Tombstone, The Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He stars in the new series, The Madison, which premieres on March 14th on Paramount+. Let's take a look.
I took Stacy and the kids to this resort in the Caribbean. Rooms are 10 grand a night. Villas are 30.
Doesn't impress me.
No, Paul, it doesn't impress me either. I'm just trying to tell you a story. Now, if you quantify making it by the things you can afford, then this place is making it, yeah? We're sitting there on the beach, watching all these couples walk by. We're the youngest there by like 2 decades. I mean, everyone's in their 70s and 80s. Barely waddle across the sand. All covered up in their big hats and their long sleeve shirts. They'd made it. But their bodies were too old to enjoy it.
Please welcome back to the show our friend Kurt Russell, everybody. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. Well, we've been on the the trail promoting the thing. This is
Yeah.
my last.
Oh,
show.
that's the nice thing about sometimes we get to be people's last.
It's like the last day of school.
Yeah, people either are like have all this energy because it's almost over, or they're just dead to the world. Yeah.
What was that? I missed that.
By the way, you and Matthew Fox, I was realizing when I was watching that clip. What was that Great West Bone Tomahawk?
Bone Tomahawk.
That is an
it's one that
insane movie.
That's one of my favorite movies.
It's a great movie. Like I say,
completely
insane
crazy.
in a great way. It is a crazy sort of horror western.
No, you don't know. If you went into Blockbuster years ago and you say, I'm looking for Bone Tomahawk, where is it? Which section?
Yeah.
They go, it's over there in the corner by itself where it belongs.
It is not. It does not have a section. The other films have asked not to be on a rack with Bone Tomahawk. Another movie of yours that was all over, the algorithm kept pushing it towards me on social media, was your speech from the film Miracle, because of course we had Olympic hockey.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I mean, I would imagine, obviously you're playing Herb Brooks, that's a historical figure, a real dude, a real moment.
Yeah.
That scene, I mean, getting that right it's the most important part of the movie in a way.
Well, I had the opportunity to meet Herb before we started, and he was actually coming to scout Wyatt.
Oh, wow.
Because Wyatt was playing
Wyatt,
junior hockey
Russell,
in Canada, and they were looking at him for maybe playing for the Gophers. And once we had the conversation with Herb, I turned to the director and I said, we got a lot of work to do here.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really have a lot of that in there. We didn't have a lot of the stuff that was in the hockey. And Herb said to me, how do you know a lot of that? I said, well, I was a ball player. And I didn't realize it, but I was also playing my dad, who was a great baseball coach.
Yeah.
He was a great psychologist. He'd get out of young guys a lot more. And he was very much like Herb. But my dad was a very gregarious guy. Herb
Right.
was a little more reserved. But their technique, what they were trying to pry out of people, I realized. And my dad actually died when I was making that. And I didn't really realize that till I was skating around and his first assistant was walking out and I knew my dad was going. And I said, did my dad die? And he went, yeah. What do you know what to do? And give me a minute. But I realized right then, oh, well, Dad, I'm just realizing, and I'm playing you too. So
that's
it was kind of weird, yeah.
And your dad was an actor.
Yeah.
You worked with him.
Yeah, we worked 4 or 5 times together.
And your son Wyatt.
He kidnapped me once.
He kidnapped
I
you.
think it was an FBI episode of the FBI. Or
Really?
something.
I
can't
guess
remember.
when they're casting a kid, it makes it easier for the kidnap scene if the kidnapper is your actual dad.
He had a ball that day.
Yeah.
He had a lot of fun. Yeah.
And then your son Wyatt in Monarch, which you have another season coming out, you and Wyatt play the same character in different timelines.
That's when we were here last time in 24 to see you.
Your son Wyatt, so it's very cool when those things overlap like
Yeah,
that.
I thought we were, was excited. The idea of working together was going to be really fun. But of course, then I never thought, well, we'll never work together. because we're playing the
when you
same
play
guy.
someone from the future, unless it's a Back to the Future movie situation.
In the second season, it's a sci-fi, so
look forward to that.
You never know,
The Madison. This is a beautiful show. Taylor Sheridan show.
Yeah, well, it's not. That's
Oh,
what's
it's-
interesting about it. It's
okay.
very, very unlike anything he's done. I mean, anything.
Yes, so it
he's
is
done.
it is him.
Yeah,
but it's
his-
not a Taylor Sheridan. It's again,
Yeah.
it's on its own rack with Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is his. Well, I don't know if it's proper or not, but I kind of refer to it as his female gaze. because it's very female centric. But the way he writes the guys in this, especially the guys from Montana, there's two characters here, New York City and Montana, and the people from them. We're from New York. The people in Montana are, they're living a very different life, and they have very different ways of teaching and learning things without even trying to, and vice versa. So it's really this sort of fish out of water. Michelle Pfeiffer is just fantastic in it. The cast is really great, and I honestly think that it's the best writing I've seen from Taylor Sheridan.
That's really
it's
fantastic.
Really good.
It is. You're somebody that people might assume is as one of the coastal elites, like myself. But you're a very outdoorsy guy. You spend a lot of time in Colorado. You're an accomplished fly fisherman. Is that safe to say?
Unfortunately, not accomplished.
Okay.
Oliver's accomplished.
Okay,
right?
gotcha.
Oliver's accomplished. But my history with it goes way back. My grandfather had the first fly fishing only lake in the state of Maine. He had a resort, and he only allowed fly fishing. So all the guys and women who came there to fly fish, they had journals where they'd write down the temperature of the water, the temperature of the sky, the time of day, whether there was clouds, what kind of fly they had on. So I grew up knowing all about that. And in this, I get a chance to pretend I don't know any of that. and I get to watch, and Matthew Fox and I play brothers. And he's a very good fly fisherman. So it's kind of fun. It's playing the guy who comes out once every 4 or 5 months to be with his brother, and he's good, but he's not that good.
It helps when you're doing something as an actor. It helps to be very good at it to be bad at it on camera.
Yeah, it does.
Because by the way, even if I did it, they're like, I know you're supposed to be bad, Seth, but you got to be better than this. All right, I got more to ask you. We'll be right back with more from Kurt Russell. Welcome back. We're here with Kurt Russell. We mentioned you worked with your dad.
We did. Yeah, we worked 4 or 5 times together.
You also played Elvis in a television movie in 1970.
We worked together on that. He played Elvis's dad.
Amazing. The
Vernon, I
amount
think
the Russells are just cast to play.
We worked together.
Yeah. But you also, was it true that your first acting job was with the actual Elvis?
My first movie.
Your first movie. Yeah. So here you are with Elvis. What was the name of this Elvis?
It happened at the World's Fair. We shot this, I think, in '62.
So
this is crazy. I've never seen that picture.
What was your role in this film?
Well, he wanted to have an excuse to meet this nurse, so he needs to figure out a way to go in there with something, and he pays this kid 50 cents to kick him in the shins.
Got it.
So I got that. I got that job.
Was that a special effect, or did you get to practically kick him in the shins?
That's pre-CGI, right? So he had a pad on him, and everybody was a little bit worried about it.
Yeah.
And they said, now kind of go easy. And I had shoes, not sneakers.
Hey.
And he said, and I'm looking at it like, I can't miss that.
Right.
And I did it about 10 times, and Elvis was like, I think he's got it. I don't think I'm worried about that, But he was 27 years old here, and when I played him, I was 27.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I'm looking at him. There were times, what I'm realizing now is my dad, when my dad was young, he looked a lot like Elvis. And Elvis, when we were on the thing, this is how cool Elvis Presley was. We're back in Los Angeles shooting, and my dad comes on the set with me, and Elvis was over there, and I see Elvis really looking over. And now I'm going into the thing. He says, "Is that your dad? Is that your father over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh man, can I meet him?" And I said, "Oh, sure." Went over. "Dad, this is Elvis Presley. I'd like to meet you." He said, "Mr. Russell," he said, I love the way you wear your hat in all the cowboy movies you do. If I ever do a cowboy movie, would it be okay if I wore my hat your way?"
Wow.
That's how cool a guy he was. And my dad said, well, "Sure, Elvis." It'd be nice.
Oh, man, if that happened to my dad,
and he did in Charo. If you ever seen in Charo, that's the way my dad
really?
wore it. Yeah. Well, my dad kind of wore his hat differently than anybody else.
That's
you got to have something going for you.
Was your dad, because again, my dad would tell that story to everybody the rest of his life.
He told it a few times.
Yeah, he told it. Speaking of all-time great Westerns, since we're there, Tombstone, one of the best.
Good guy.
Our dear friend, your dear friend, I was lucky enough to be friends with Val Kilmer.
Totally unique guy.
Just one of a kind.
Oh, and he was one of a kind, difficult as it can be.
Yep.
But never wrong.
Really?
Never wrong. Anything that we talked about, and we were very close on that. We became friends. I mean, we really did, and we did. It was not an easy shoot, but every time there was some little thing, whatever, he was always right.
That's such a funny thing about, you can be difficult, but you have to be right.
Well, and sometimes he was difficult and right, and still they couldn't deal with it. I mean, that was Val. I loved him. He was great. I miss him.
He's a very special guy. And then you're also, some of this film takes place, you do some scenes in a cockpit of a plane. You are licensed pilot?
I'm no longer current, but flew for 30 years.
Okay, gotcha. How long does it take until they say you're not allowed to fly? How long do you have to not fly before they're like, you don't?
Well, you have to keep yourself current.
Gotcha, okay.
And so there's like a 2-year period. You got to do
got
X
it.
amount of approaches, and so then there's IFR ratings and VFR, and so you got to do it. Matthew is a current pilot, and he flies a 206, which is what he flies in the show.
Oh, wow.
And so it's fun. Anyway, we got to hangar fly a lot, he and I.
Do you you like being up in a plane that a friend is flying?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have friends who still have planes, and once in a while get behind the yoke.
Really?
Yeah,
All
oh,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
great. Thanks for being here. It's just
Good seeing
always
you.
such a delight to see you.
I'll say
Kurt.
hi to Wyatt.
Yes, please do. He's my favorite. Kurt Russell, everybody. The Madison premieres March 14th on Paramount Plus. We'll be right back with Mark Jacobs and Sophia Coppola.